in conjunction with the New Hampshire Campbellton Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome now to the Londonderry Bowling Center. As we continue championship week here on the Winds, I'm Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy, and now it's time to find out our 5th qualifying team for the Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions here on Stars and Strikes Doubles.
Yeah, we're looking for 2 in a row, and we've got the young guns here in the red, and we got the veterans. And we were talking before the match, we have a combined age of 77 against 48 for the younger guys. So come on, you senior citizens, I'm rooting for you.
And I suppose in the spirit of truth in journalism, we should mention that the oldest team here is the 2 of us. But in any event, we do have a matchup of the youngsters against the veterans. And Steve Vadney won his 30th match here on the Winds last week, and Brian Fuller has never been beaten. He's 4-0.
Not quite, but it's almost like 2 generations here. These are the up-and-coming stars of this game. It should be an interesting matchup.
All right, let's meet both of these teams. First of all, our number 2 seeded group. This is the veteran team. From East Kingston, New Hampshire, Brian Fuller, and his partner from Claremont, New Hampshire, Steve Vadney.
Okay, Brian comes in averaging 120. His roll-off score at 689. Steve Vadney at 125 and 688.
And, of course, last week they came up with a 362 to win their semifinal match over Larry Valcourt and Fred Ranella. So now, as so many other teams have done before them, they will try and make it 2 wins in a row. And they'll face our number 1 seeded team from Salem, New Hampshire, Pete Pereira, and his partner from Ware, New Hampshire, Kevin Davis.
Okay, and Peter comes in averaging, I haven't got his average down, but he's averaging a lot. His roll-off score is quite impressive at 720, and Kevin, his roll-off score at 707, so that's a 1427 combined score.
In fact, they were the only 2 guys that got over 700 in the roll-off.
Yeah, absolutely right.
So we'll take a break, come back with the first of 3 strings in this championship match here on Stars and Strikes Doubles. Don't go away. Lots of prize money and a spot in the Tournament of Champions on the line. We'll be right back. All right, big crowd on hand, set to go for this championship match. Our top 2 seeded teams remain. And how many times has this happened? Seems like every time this season. Brian Fuller and Steve Vadney with their win last week, throwing a 362, knocking off Larry Valcourt and Fred Ranella. And so it's number 2 against number 1, Pete Pereira and Kevin Davis, sitting with that 1427. As we mentioned a moment ago, they were the only 2 bowlers out of the 10 that qualified that were able to hit 700 for 5 games in the roll-off. So now the winners of this match will join this group in the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. Our number 1 seeded team as of the moment, Gary Carrington and Joe Ashline at 407. Jack Sanick and Brian McKinley, the only team so far this year to win 2 matches in a row, has a 381. Chuck Godzik and Peter Flynn at 365. Paul St. Pierre and Steve Reno at 349. And we've got space for 2 more teams. One of those teams will be decided today. And Brian Fuller will get this match started. And we're going to have some noise for this match. Brian Fuller, the lefty, and crosses over to that Brooklyn side, just missing the head pin, but he'll have a spare leave in any event. And he's got it. Over to lane 29 here at the Londonderry Bowling Center. Brian on the head pin, and boy, deserved a better leave than that. The 4 and the 9.
He'd like the wood stay right where it is, because the ball could carry him off that piece of wood for the 4 pin and then go to the right side wall and then maybe back again for the 9. Let's see. Oh, yes.
Nope.
Came up real high on that piece of wood.
And a 10. And for the team of Davis and Pereira, Kevin Davis will lead it off.
Yes, and we were kidding everyone about their age and everything, and then yours truly forgot to copy down their averages when I was at the opening of the show. So Kevin averages 124, and his partner, Peter Pereira, at 128.
2 pretty impressive numbers there. In fact, combined the highest averages of any team in this series. And Kevin takes a 7 to start it. Kevin Davis from Ware, New Hampshire, works for Pepsi-Cola, does a lot of his bowling at the lakeside lanes. Qualified with that 7:07, finishing second.
4 horsemen left. 1, 2, 4, and 7.
The final roll-off was at the B&L Bowl in Hillsborough, New Hampshire. Ed Emerson and the gang handling things for us. Kevin Davis has had a certain amount of success here on Stars and Strikes, 5 and 2 in his previous appearances. His partner, Peter Pereira, has had a little more frustration. Peter is 1 and 5 in his previous appearances here on the Winds. Here's Steve Vadney now. Steve now with a record of 30 and 15 on Stars and Strikes, and with results like that, how could you be surprised?
Right in the 1-3 pocket. 4, 5, 7, and 8. The last ones to go. I was kidding Steve and Brian, but in my generation, really. Not even Brian. Steve is. 7-pin drop with that first ball, looking for the spare on strike.
And the triangle for the spare.
Steve just gave me a look like, yeah, we can do this.
I don't think Steve and Brian were too thrilled about your idea of kind of setting up the theme for this show. Peter Pereira. Shooting at the 7-pin for the spare, and he's got it.
But it is interesting because this is the next generation of bowlers. These two young guys are going to be around a long time. Seems like Peter's been here forever already. He's made quite a few appearances.
Peter and Kevin both have made a lot of appearances considering their age. They're both in their mid-20s and early to mid-20s, actually.
3, 6, 10, and the 7-pin left.
Peter is just 23 years old. Kevin is 25.
Now everyone's going to want to know the breakdown of the other team.
I'm not going to say it.
Make it a 9. 41 through 4.
I plan to have a nice long career, you know. I don't want to make any enemies.
You're not going to lead me down that path. All I know is when I started, Brian was bowling right-handed. 2, 4, 5, and 10. Oh, what a
Great
shot.
Terrific shot. I mean, it's one thing to make enemies, but it's another thing to make enemies among this bowling fraternity. They're tough. Some of them are tough.
Right back in the pocket, wants some help with a 6-pin, doesn't get it. 6, 7, 2 pieces of wood next to the 6. Trying to make it 5 marks out of 6 boxes.
Have to fly it. Nope. Some of the funnier things, I know a lot of people have commented on the fact that we have a lot of fun here on the show, but some of the funniest things are things that you don't hear or can't hear. Because the bowlers are, some of them just, of course, most everybody with terrific sense of humor, and part of the just part of the fraternity of bowling, I think, is just joking around and getting on your opponent and so on. And a lot of these guys, and the women too, are very, very good at it. 8 box for Kevin Davis.
You can learn to bowl, but you got to learn to talk that trash once in a while. You know,
Trash
that comes with
part
age.
That's right. Big part of the game. The psychological aspect of the game.
1, 2, 4, and 9 left for Kevin.
Nope.
And we can get into hairstyles too, the young guys. And
you really are asking for it, aren't you?
58 through 6.
Never mind hairstyles, just hair.
That's right. Hello, Steve. Championship week. One of these teams will make it to the Tournament of Champions. So as we get closer to that third game, we'll run down those scores again for you. Very important, the score is where you're seated in the Tournament of Champions, this final match. Steve looking at the 2-pin with the piece of wood behind it for the spare.
No, he's right there. Mark number 5 for the team. Steve with a high single of 197, a high triple of 488. Just catches the head pin, a little thin, and a 6-drop, and not a very pretty 6-drop either.
No, the 2, 7, 8, and 10. It's going to go after the 2-pin and see what happens.
Just missed. Nine box. 117 through 8 for Fuller and Vadney.
And a 34-pin advantage.
Peter Pereira, that roll-off score was tops among our group of 10 bowlers for this series. Oh, and there's an example of it.
That's why he can get 720.
$720 for 5 games is an average of 144, folks. Oh. About to say they really needed the mark, too, because Fuller and Vadney putting the heat on here early. Just a 4-fill on the strike.
I was talking to Peter before the match, too, and he was sitting at about 540, I believe, with 1 game to go, and threw a 184, I believe, the final game of that roll-off.
Wow. 6 box for Pete.
So 4 and a strike and a 6, kind of, it's like 2 10 boxes. Didn't get any advantage at all having the mark posted up there. So the lead now is 39.
Now Brian coming from the back, and you don't see this very often. The 1, 2, 3 for a spare, and he converts it.
127 already through 9, plus this bonus ball. Be a great opening game.
Just 5. Brian Fuller's high single of 190. His high triple 464. Tried to make him dance, not quite. And a 9, 6 marks for the team of Fuller and Vadney, and an opening 141. Tough crowd.
Really? Hope that's not his chauffeur that was yelling at him. He might be walking.
Kevin Davis.
1, 3, 6, and the 7-pin.
Well, not an enviable position for Davis and Pereira coming to the final 2 boxes of this first game. Even if Kevin had struck out, they still would have been trailing. And it was a terrific opening game for Fuller and Vadney.
I'm sure if that was an option that we could give them, he'd take it, though. Needs a mark to break the 100 mark. really forcing that ball out there right now. I've seen these guys bowl before, though. Hang on. This is a long ways from over.
Oh, my. Well, they put themselves in a bit of a hole here to start the match, so there are 2 games left, a 6-box, a 93, and a big 48-pin lead after 1, but we've seen leads of this size disappear before here on Stars and Strikes Doubles. We'll be back. Game number 2 in a minute. Well, 2 games to go. Peter Pereira will try and begin the comeback for the team of Pereira and Davis. Boy.
Whoa. He was scrambling 8, but he leaves himself the 8-10. Piece of wood to the right of the 8-pin and 1 to the left. I probably want to take both of them. Let's see what he does.
Oh, ooh, not far enough over. And the 10. Peter Pereira from Salem works as the manager of the Woburn Bowlodrome. Has a lot of his bowling there, as well as Park Place lanes in Wyndham. Peter and his wife Diane are expecting their first child. And another big first ball, and look at this lead.
8-9 plus the 6-pin. Piece of wood next to the 9. So I think if he's on the 6-pin, and preferably to the right, just may make this far enough over.
$9, but boy, the first balls of those 2 boxes belie the score there.
Not much to show for a ball that was that well thrown. Now Steve Vadney trying to pad that 48-pin advantage.
Four horsemen left. A little piece of wood on the 6-pin, on the 4-pin rather.
And I think that wood may be more trouble than. Oh.
Backing up, not quite. $10 for Steve. And now the 4 horsemen right with wood on the 6-pin. Actually, it's going to roll back to the 10-pin now.
And that should help.
And it does.
Here you see the replay. Just splits the 1 and 3. Everything domino effect all the way down to the 6 and the 10. And Kevin Davis.
And a pretty good first ball for Kevin, too, and he has a spare leave on the 6 and the 9. You have to wait for that wood to calm down a little bit.
Be careful, you don't want to cap that wood. You're liable to leave the 9-pin.
And that's what happened.
$10.
Let's take another look.
You want to be a little farther to the right. Just capped it. Pin went one way, ball went the other.
Oh, there it is.
I know what he's thinking now.
Second strike for the team. They are in a hole.
But that team can throw strikes, so anytime they got 1 posted, you got to watch out. Wants that 2-pin to go down. It's going to be 7 on the spare.
Brian was working on it with the body English, but it wouldn't go.
He'll play the 2-pin, trying to move it to the right for the 6-10. Let's wait and see if that wood came up and froze behind the 2, but it doesn't. Oh, yes.
What a shot. Snaps it up and over there.
Thought he might have been a little full in the 2-pin, went right straight up, came down on the 6, and finally the 10. Great shot by Brian Fuller. Makes it 2 spares in a row for the team.
Oh, again, almost. Oh, he scared it.
Actually touched the 10-pin. You can see it rocking a little bit. Good bid to make it 3 in a row.
It's a 9-box, and we will take a break right here. Fuller and Vadney putting the heat on almost at the halfway point. Championship week continues on Stars and Strikes Doubles right after these messages.
We have to know what Peter's thinking right now. Being down 61. Boy, if I could throw a double.
Instead, right through the middle. Pete Pereira's high single at 211. High triple 498.
So a disappointing 4 on the strike. 5 on the strike. I'm sorry. Let me correct that.
See, I made all the scoring mistakes last week. I thought I had made another one.
It still is disappointing, though. Oh, look at this.
No.
Look at this. One ball too late.
Another strike, but the 8-box in the middle.
Actually, he's on the head pin of box before, too, but went through the middle. As I said, that team can throw strikes.
Well, they each have high singles over 200, so you know that they can add them up quickly. Steve Vadney faced with the 6-7-10 with wood.
Want to be inside the left of the 6-pin, have it come off the wall.
Ooh, played it right on the 6-pin and almost jumped it over there. For the 10, no. It'll be a 9-box. Actually took the right edge of the 6-pin, if anything.
Now they're opposite the strike.
Ooh, another ugly split. But you got to be thinking that Pereira and Davis were looking at hopefully cutting that 48-pin lead in half, maybe, in this middle game if they could. They still have an opportunity to do that, but...
Oh, that close.
Wow. Boy, that was a heck of a shot. Just barely kept the ball on the lane. And it's a 9. So 2 9-boxes for Steve Vadney, and let's take another look at that. He pinches it right in the corner.
Right where the 2 pieces of wood meet. Very nearly threw it all the way across for the spare.
And another big ball for Kevin Davis on the strike, and if it comes this way,
Well, he's got the 1 and the 2 standing, and looks like he may have some more wood coming up.
You see what Kevin faces. For the spare. No, too full.
Team struggling to get 2 marks in a row here, and not because they're bowling that badly. Just a little full on the object pin, the head pin that time, and drove it straight back.
I think also you can tell now that they may be pressing just a little bit because they know that each box that goes by makes things a little tougher. Almost another strike. That would have been their 3rd strike in a row on lane 29. Instead, it's a solid 10-pin with no wood.
Kevin moves to the left of the approach, give himself a little more room.
Gets it. Marking every other box right now. Brian Fuller steps up, the left-hander. And it's the 1, 2, and 10. No. And he'll take an $8. So a little dry spell for the team of Fuller and Vadney here.
Lead down to 45. Spear already posted for Pereira and Davis.
On the head pin, but wow. 5, 7, and 8 wood to the left. Try the wood here.
I think it's too deep. I think you're going to go after the 5-pin on the right-hand side.
Let's see. Oh!
Oh.
Wow.
But I failed to take into consideration that he's a left-hander. Just caught the tail end of that wood, and the ball's going from left to right anyways, and was able to cover the 5.
Big spare.
Thanks, Brian. Make me look bad. Right in the pocket again, and unbelievable.
He just threw his hands up in the air and said, what do I have to do?
Well, 4, 5, and 7. There is a piece of wood. There it is. You know, almost like it behind the 5-pin. He's going to have to play the 5. That's why I like to have it behind the 5, because you would have got the ball and the 5-pin moving to the left.
The ball did come back, but not enough to take the 4-pin. So it's a $10. And Pete will move over to lane 29, where they've marked the last 3 times. They didn't mark at all on this lane in the first game, Pereira and Davis, and they got another shot here. The 2 and the 4.
Let's try to avoid the piece of wood out in front and take the 2-4 by themselves. Can you believe that? How many times is that? They hit the object pin of the 2 pins together and just drove it straight back.
And a 10, a 118, 2-game total, 211. Well, Fuller and Vadney are going to have just about all of their 48-pin lead, if not more, when this game is over. Steve Vadney on the spare, just 2. Leaving the 5 and the 6.
Remember, they opened with the 141 game. They're at 100 now.
So now without a mark here in the 10th because of that 2 fill, they'll lose some of their lead. But there's the mark. That's mark number 10 in 20 boxes for Fuller and Vadney. And that close to the spare, but it's enough to win the second game and add 1 more pin onto the lead. A 2-game total, 260 for Fuller and Vadney. A 49-pin lead over Pereira and Davis with 211. 1 game to decide the championship, and we'll have it when we come back. Steve Vadney will lead it off for the team as both teams have elected to change the order here for the 3rd game. Steve Vadney, who led off the 2nd, will do so again here in the 3rd, and Pete Pereira will do the same for the team of Pereira and Davis. Well, you got to figure at this point, Dan, that whichever team wins this match is going to have a pretty good score, because should Vadney and Fuller win it, they're already at 260. If Pereira and Davis are able to come back and win it, they will have to obviously overcome a large lead.
Of course, the one that's on the bubble, so to speak, is 349. It definitely is in jeopardy. 365, 381, 407. Those are the top scores. Pair of nines for Steve Vadney.
So an opening right away for Pete Pereira. And it's a half Worcester. Winning team from today's match becomes our 5th qualifying. Oh, how about that for a cut shot for a 10? Unfortunately for a 10, but what a great shot. Cutting the 6 into the 5. Recovered nicely from the half Worcester, though, and there's a big strike on top of it. It's just been a question of one ball too late or one ball too early all day long for Pete Pereira and Kevin Davis.
They got spurts, but the spurts haven't been long enough, haven't been consecutive boxes, and that's the difference.
That's 4 strikes they have now in the match. But they haven't got any of them together. In fact, they haven't put 2 marks together yet.
I'm sure when Kevin Davis gets up there, he'd like to have the next mark right now, and it'd be a strike. 3 nines, 27, 3 open frames to start off for Steve Vadney and Brian Fuller, leading by 47.
The Tournament of Champions, of course, for both singles and doubles, as well as our weekly presentation here on the Wins. All brought to you by Tri-State Megabucks. The folks who asked you to just imagine being rich. Oh, yeah. Nice spare.
Spare in the 4th by Brian Fuller.
It may only take 2 or 3 marks for Fuller and Vadney to put this away, so every mark critical because of that. On the strike now. Two, 4, and 7 for the spare. No.
It's the story of this match for them. Leaving 1 pin standing after the second ball a number of times.
$10. They have taken 12 off the lead. If Kevin can put a mark up here, they at least won't lose any ground for the moment. Boy, they are explosive. 6 pin for a spare. Nope.
Kevin had the 10 pin up earlier. He moved to the left on the approach. That time he stayed with a 6 pin. He stayed straight in the same spot and pulled the ball to the left.
Fuller and Vadney with the lead, gunning for the championship. A spare up, and Steve Vadney will fill that spare when we come back. All right, Steve Vadney. Spare leave, 3-6.
May not want to try to split him, though.
He doesn't.
Heavy on the 3 pin, drove it straight back, 2 marks in a row. Ooh, get away with that one.
Oh.
That looked like destined for a half Worcester left, and instead he's just got 2 pins standing. The 1 and the 3.
No, Steve knew he missed it. Looked down right after he let it go. We'll take it for the 10 bucks. 73 through 6. Could Fuller and Vadney break the back-to-back curse? They have the big lead here coming down the stretch.
2 and 5 left for Peter Pereira. Just about have to mark out, or pretty close to it.
Unless they manage to put some strikes together.
Right, which they can. They've had some strikes. 4 of them. More strikes than Spears.
Yep, and no 2 marks together yet. No, that was a strike ball.
And that pin's had enough. He's coming back to say something, Peter. He hit that one so hard.
So after the wait, Pete will have the 4-pin. For the spare in the 6th.
Still alive. A lot of you are going to start scoreboard watching now. And Steve Vadney, Brian Fuller, 260. They're at 113 clip right now. So that would definitely put them in the 380 bracket. Pretty close. With another mark.
Yeah, I would say if Fuller and Vadney go on to win, which it appears that they might, barring a miracle comeback, or regardless, either team, the winning team here is going to be well over 370, it would appear. And then that would make the next checkpoint 381, which is the number 2 spot right now, held by Jack Sanick and Brian McKinley. Be a long, tough climb here to get up to that 407.
Yeah, they need strikes to do that.
We wondered back when that was thrown, I think they were the first qualifying team of the year, and we wondered if anybody would touch that score. That's a tough score to beat in doubles, 407.
4789, no wood. Just
like that.
Yes. Wow.
Did you kind of get the feeling that he knew he was going to make that? Even before he let it go, just kind of the way he approached it.
Just played the triangle on the left, slid everything to the right. Great shot.
Big double high five from his partner. It just hasn't been Kevin and Peter's day. Fair to say that youth has not been served today.
But they will be back.
All even in this game, but a 49-pin lead carrying over. As it turned out, Steve Vadney and Brian Fuller probably won this match in the first 5 boxes. They had 4 marks in the first 5 and a 33-pin lead almost before the thing started.
Great effort by Kevin on the spread eagle. Left just the 2-pin.
And a 9. So, final 2 now for Steve Vadney, and we'll keep an eye on this final score as it rolls up here.
Yeah, looks like 407 might be safe. 381. I need another mark. Good fill and another mark. That's a pretty good fill. That's a real good fill.
And another mark. Accomplished both. Well, that should take care of the 381.
Well, they were to throw the triple here. Here's the replay of that. Comes sliding over for the 8-pin.
They needed only 121 to get the 381. He's at 111 plus 2 balls in the 9th. No double, but
That is enough to climb into second place, though.
Yep. And it's going to be in the high 380 range. Maybe even 390. 390 it is. 130 and a 390. 130 was the average for the 3 games. 141, 119, 130. 390 for Fuller and Vadney. Pete Pereira will finish it off now for the team of Pereira and Davis. That's the kind of a day it's been.
Not my day today. Peter just got through saying, well,
right to the bitter end. Now, Steve Vadney has had his own personal struggle over the years here on Stars and Strikes, getting to Tournaments of Champions, so he has finally broken through. I believe this might be his first one. He breaks through in doubles with his partner Brian Fuller, a 390 and a big win over Pete Pereira and Kevin Davis. We'll be back to award the prize money and talk to the bowlers in a minute. All right, championship week completed now here at the Londonderry Bowling Center. A win for Brian Fuller and Steve Vadney as they come up with a 390, and right now they sit in second spot for qualifying in the Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions. We'll have more on that in a minute, but first off, let's meet our runners-up. Pete Pereira and Kevin Davis, come on up. Got second place prize money for you here, splitting $400, and I think maybe maybe we got the old guys mad talking about this old and young thing.
Oh, they were pretty upset, yeah. They come out flying the first string, and that's all it takes sometimes.
Yeah, they really did come out. Really, we were talking about it just a minute ago. They almost won the match in the first 5 boxes, as it turned out. They got a couple of big marks early and piled up the lead.
It's like I told him, we took up some warm-up box. I threw 3 strikes in a row to begin, and I knew it was a bad day.
Well, and still, though, you had the strikes in the match itself. You just couldn't put anything together. If you throw any of those 2 strikes together, maybe it's different.
Oh, you hit the head pin, you only get 3 or 4. It's tough to throw a double that way. So.
Well, again, $400 second place money, and there are still a couple more chances, both on this show and also on the single show, to qualify for the Tournament of Champions. So hope we'll see you again real soon.
We'll try to be back.
All right, thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it. And now let's call up our champions, Brian Fuller and Steve Vadney. If they're physically able to walk up here and accept their checks, I guess they are. Steve and Brian, congratulations. You really did kind of put the hammer down. You're upset about this age thing, weren't you? You just put the hammer down early.
Yeah, they started getting on us back there a little bit, and so I guess we got to show them we still got a little bit left in the end.
Well, not only that, but you win 2 weeks in a row. We talked about this last week. This is only the second time all year that a team has won 2 weeks in a row.
Well, I hope we can do it again the next time.
Yeah, that's right. Good point, because right now you know that you're in that second spot for the Tournament of Champions. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this going to be your first Tournament of Champions? I know you've been. It'll be the second. Okay, because I know you'd missed.
We won last year with Joe.
That's right. That's right. So this is be the second year in a row for you in doubles, and I know you've had some opportunities in singles that haven't worked out right for you. So this has to make you feel a little better.
Yeah, I got a little help to get me in with this one, you know. And,
well, see, that's what you need, is a partner to bring you in.
It took 3 tries this year to get here, though.
Now, also, Brian, we mentioned this last week, but you have yet to lose, so now you can kind of sit on that 5-match winning streak and come back in the spring.
Yeah, I hope so, and just keep it going.
And the thing is, spring is not that far away. We're only 5 weeks away now from the beginning of the start of the Tournament of Champions. We have just 1 more series to go, and then we'll see you guys back. Of course, right now you're sitting in the number 2 spot, so you know you'll be no worse than 3rd. So congratulations, and of course the $800 in prize money now to tide you over, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
Okay.
All right. Steve Vadney and Brian Fuller, congratulations. And we'll bring Dan Murphy back in here. It's victory for the old guys, so a good day for you.
Yes, yeah. Proud of that generation. Guys that bowl real well today. They broke the streak of winning 2 in a row, and another good addition to the Tournament of Champions in the doubles format.
Yeah, it really is going to be an incredible field that we're putting together for both events, really. But this doubles event right now looks to be a real war, and you've got some guys that have been here an awful lot coming in for the Tournament of Champions.
Yeah, all of them are going to be seasoned by that time, and it should be an interesting matchup.
All right. Remember that next Sunday here on Stars and Strikes, we will begin our final regular series of the season, both on the singles show at noon and here on Stars and Strikes doubles at 1. So we invite you to join us for that. So we need one more singles qualifier and one more doubles team to get into the Tournament of Champions before we get it started. By the way, if you'd like to make arrangements for that or make plans for that, the Tournament of Champions will begin on both shows on Sunday, April the 25th. So that's the date you want to keep in mind to start watching for the Tournament of Champions. And, of course, that will run for 5 weeks in both hours. So until next Sunday at 12 noon here on The Winds, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, Doug Brown, have a good week, everybody.